Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fellowship of the Golden Age. And here today we have a lovely man, Igor. Hey, Igor.
Hello. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
All right. Okay, Igor. So we'll kick it off with your explanation for how you would describe a separate self.
Well, a separate self, it's what I would say, it's a combination of sense of a certain sensation, certain third patterns, yeah, and emotions that fuel back that third pattern, basically. So it's like three components, yeah, certain sense of self, the vibration that feeds it, basically, yeah, that it dwells on. Then it has a mental component and an emotional component, usually. Although masters mention that we have like emotional separate selves and mental separate self, but they usually come in tandems, basically. So a certain mental cycle fuels the emotion, yeah, breeds the emotion. And that emotion actually fuels that mental cycle. So it becomes like a self-reinforcing spiral. At least this is according to my personal experience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And how to get rid of it, basically, is to be alert and to recognize it, but without trying to counter it. Yeah, because when you counter, what you do, you just enable another separate self to push it, and you feed power to both at that very moment. It's just in Buddhism, in Zen Buddhism, they describe it. You recognize it, yeah, and at some point you have to pay less and less conscious attention to recognize that they like automatically break of your conscious attention, break of your presence, yeah, and at some point this process for a particular separate self, it goes to the background, and then it's rarely bothers you. Yeah, at some point you recognize that there is basically no emotion left, barely any thirst left, and you focus your I am presence focuses your attention on that very vibration, yeah, that pollutes your sense of self, your identity body, and you focus on, oh, I can just let it go, yeah, and it just poof, yeah, that's. But it's not like ultimate poof where you are completely changed your state of mind. No, it's just slight change in you, but you feel a little bit freer. It's just like Kim described it. No switch from bad to good state of consciousness, but a little subtle switch when you feel a little bit freer. That's for me separate self.
Yeah, okay. So could you give an example of a separate self that you have actually let go of? Like, that might be a little bit of a tricky question, but can you recall a particular self that you've transcended it now?
Yes, one of those self is the self that was projecting that, oh, I'm so tired of this world, I cannot do anything, I feel powerless, I feel so burdened. That was the third pattern, and the emotion was very burdened. It was like pushing my head and straining my back backwards. So I was like this, yeah. And I recognized that it was a separate self, because I thought, yes, I was in a pretty challenging physical conditions, and for quite some time, for the past, let's say, 4 years at least, yeah. But nevertheless, I throughout even that self, I was countering partly by the physical exercise, partly by giving decrease in invocations, and of course by self-observation. Yeah. And at some point, I realized that, okay, it's not. I started to suspect that it's not natural, yeah, because I don't have to feel that tired, yeah, because I'm not in that bad physical shape or something. That this is something more than just physical fatigue or something like that. And gradually, I reduced the emotional component, and at some point, I noticed that, oh, this is just a mental cycle, and it actually breeds the emotion. That's when I recognize that a mental component can actually project and create more of that emotion. Yeah, so I recognized, started to separate myself from it, and at some point it was at some point I was feeling pretty okay, but that mental cycle was like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so tired, I'm so tired, and then it's puff, yeah, because I just kept my attention on it without doing anything. At some point it just bump, and it disappeared. Yeah, and that's how it was. Yeah, and since then, it's not like I feel all, like a Superman, but I feel much better than before. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Yeah, when we're just sort of hearing that voice and it's like, well, who is this that's talking right now? Like, you become
Yeah.
an alien. And yeah. But also when it's all happening and when you're fully identified with it, again, like, it's really hard to see that that's occurring. Like you really, it does take, it just takes that little trick to step outside of it and see.
Yes. The most important thing is here: do not wrestle with that, because I was for several years I was actually suppressing that, or wrestling with that, and what I ended up with is that I compartmentalized my being. So I felt like my sense of self was like a bunch of stones that are pushing one another with a very, very immersed tension. And it was a very unpleasant place to be, basically. Yeah. And I was suppressing it. I felt my neck, the good part of my head here, my face was like splitting into halves. Yeah. And it was all strained. My back was strained. I felt really strained. I had to actually, and to some degree, I was physically strained. I had cramps, so I had to resort to kinetic therapists to help, and massage. But then, what counteracted that is physical exercise, because it helps you to separate your physical body from those emotional projections. Yeah, because when you exercise, you start feeling your physical body, and you're like, oh, that sensation is not physical. Yeah, it's not. It's not. It doesn't come from my physical body, but rather it's projected on my physical body by my separate self. Yeah, and then when you start feeling it, it helps a great time to separate your physical body from those separate selves. And I must say that it's a very important thing. Kim is in the latest teachings, it's a very big question, and I believe this is the greatest concern: to treat your physical body with love, no matter what. Yeah, even if you find yourself with some destructive habits like smoking, drinking, doing drugs, doesn't matter. Yeah, you at some point I could drink a little, yeah, but I recognize, okay, I damaged my physical body, so I had to counteract that somehow. So I drank a lot of apple juice because it helps to process the alcohol in the liver. Yeah, I was taking supplements, I was sleeping well, I was exercising, but a little bit, of course, and not to put additional strain to already injured body, yeah, and stuff like that. So no matter what, even if you do something stupid, yeah. Find some love to your physical body and do something to compensate that, and it goes a long way, actually. Yeah. And exercises are a must, basically, for physical, especially the more spiritual light you invoke, the more physical exercise you must do. And this is not only my opinion, this is the opinion of some other ascended master students who actually share it, because I was naturally inclined to do a lot of exercises, but they said, oh, we feel the same. And even some older people, like 50, 60 years old, they say, yeah, we invoke a lot of light, because some of them are Ukrainians, so they read invocation for the protection of Ukraine every day. Yeah, they invoke lots and lots of light on daily basis. Yeah, and they say, yeah, then we go in for a couple of hours, we have to be physically active, yeah, to ground all that light, because otherwise you bloat your thinner bodies. Yeah, and you feel detached from your physical body. And this you end up with you cannot disidentify with all of the separate selves at once. Yeah, so you end up projecting something onto your physical body, and it increases the gap between your consciousness and your physical body, actually. Yeah, so this is very important to keep it in shape, to keep it in as high frequency as it's possible, so that you are not disconnected from your physical body. Because actually you can look, one of my friends was practicing for 20 something years, he said that, yeah, you can actually lose your physical body by invoking so much light and then projecting something onto it, so that you can have such a big gap that you will not be able to get back, and you can just lose it, basically.
Wow.
So
I'd never
yeah.
considered this. Thanks for sharing that. Like, that's really interesting. because my natural routine is once I've invoked light, I just automatically want to go for a walk. I've never really thought about it, but it's like, yeah, I just want to get out and, do stuff. And
Yes. You naturally feel actually Master Mo encourages that a lot. Yeah, and you can even find something like that in Master Keys to Power or whatever, the first book in the Mastery series, the first ray, yeah, not the first, but the second book, yeah, if you count my German books. So this is not very natural, and the more you invoke, the more physically active you should be. But again, not to confuse it, it doesn't mean that you have to become a power lifter or something like that. Yeah, a walk around the block is okay. Yeah, I mean, if you feel like that, that's okay. Yeah, but just do something. Just do something. Yeah, take a walk. Do some jogging. I'm naturally inclined towards more energizing, like sprinting or some lifting. Yeah, but unfortunately I'm injured a little bit right now because I had 2 accidents with my bike, and so yeah, I cannot do heavy lifting these days, but I do sprinting and walking and jogging, preferably twice a day. For instance, I do sprinting in the morning, then I can do some jogging or some squats in the afternoon, and then a walk in the evening before going to bed. And this is a very healthy approach, I believe. Yeah, at least it feels good. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for discussing that. Like, that's just sort of a really important point to make, because we're always talking about spiritual and psychological, but the physical that's what sort of makes us here, isn't it?
No, it's helped big time, because when you are connected well with your body, actually there are some drawbacks that might repel some people. For example, when you're completely grounded, it's from my experience, it's more likely that you will have physical symptoms from your separate self projections. Yeah, but on the good point, it helps you to grow. Yeah, because there is an undeniable manifestation of something in your mind. Yeah, and you go do, for instance, Song of Life #4, invocation for healing the physical body, but it doesn't go away. So you realize, oh, there must be something in my mind that I have to deal with right now. Yeah, I have to find that. Yeah, and you start looking for it, and you find it, and for instance, I had inflammation on my skin. Yeah, it's largely gone, but a little bit here you can see it still. Yeah. So why that? Because I was interested in speeding up my healing after the second accident, so I started to do both Song of Life #4 and that I am this body invocation from the increasing connection with your spiritual teacher's book. Yeah, and yes, I increased the connection, great time, but I started to get the physical symptoms, and I got at first I got angry, then I got upset, and then I said, okay, but let's do it this way. Let me just accept it and take a look what is it in my mind, because now I cannot deny what is in my. I cannot postpone, I cannot work this around. I have to deal with that. Yeah. So let's look at the bright side. Yeah. And actually, yeah, and I figured out that it was self-condemnation. So I started to do the Rosary of Miracle Forgiveness by a lot. Yeah, and invoking more violet flame. And that helps a lot. Actually, I feel much better right now, so it was a good sign. Yeah, sometimes, and this is the bigger lesson for me, that even with relation to other people, that do not look at suffering as something ultimately bad. Yeah, because suffering is actually a lesson. Yeah, suffering is a lesson. It's just the way you chose to learn this particular lesson. This is just the way you chose. Yeah, but it's good for you because you can. You cannot postpone this lesson right now, and so is that for the other people, because I was other people are suffering, it's so bad, and so I have to do something about it. Every single suffering I see, but then I realize, no, it's their choices actually. Okay. Sometimes the best way to help someone is just to actually to step away and let them suffer. Yeah, let them figure out what is it.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. So okay, so would you flow on and now just share a bit about your story, your journey in this world, this life?
Yeah, well, so again, as I said, the purpose of this embodiment, the way I see it currently, was to research and experiment with the victim consciousness. Yeah, so I was born in a very treacherous environment. Was born in Moldova, Chisinau, 1987. It was 4 years before the fall of the Soviet Union. So I witnessed the fall of the Soviet Union. I was in the center of all that mess. Actually, yeah, I was born in a dysfunctional family. My mother was paranoid schizophrenic. I do not blame her for that anymore, because as a child she was severely abused, and she had some accidents also that actually even physically injured her brain. So my birth was one of the triggers that puts her schizophrenia into active stage, basically. So I had one hell of a childhood. She was loving. She was a loving mother, yeah, truly loving, truly caring. But she had that, possessive love, overly micromanaging love, and also very afraid of that something might happen with me. And I was born with a severe trauma on my solar plexus chakra, which to a large degree blocked my digestive system functions. So I didn't go to a kindergarten, but on the bright side, I was a lively kid, very curious, very energized. My mother, by the way I see it, she was my wife from my previous embodiment, and she actually killed me. I do not blame her for that, because I was in a very patriarchal setting. So I was loving her, but with all that patriarchal stuff, like you should behave a certain way. So she apparently she got tired of that, and she killed me. She cut my throat or something like that. Yeah. So as a result, I was getting ill a lot, because, as I now realize, because I was afraid of her. Subconsciously, I was afraid of her. Yeah, because this is the person who actually killed me. Yeah, something like that. But nevertheless, I loved her in a certain way, and I loved my father. He was a good man, but he was, the typical good guy without setting strong boundaries around him, and that was actually ruined his life in the end of the day. Yeah, but okay, long story short, so I had issues because of after the fall of the Soviet Union, we had Romanian Nazism. So basically, the new government, which was Romanian-speaking government, they said, "Oh, the Russians are the reason why is it such a messy around here? Yeah, why is it such a mess here?" So they declared the civil war on the Russians. Yeah, and I was in the mid of that civil war. Not in the mid, but we had a small farm at the riverbank of Dniester. Dniester is the river that separates Transnistria, the territory contested by Russians, from the mainland Moldova, basically. And I had all the bullets and missiles flying all over my head, and I had people who were beating me and neglecting me and abusing me psychologically, because I was speaking Russian. My father was Russian, although he was born in Moldova. So my mother was also speaking Russian, because she was raised in a Ukrainian family in Donetsk, because her original family didn't have resources to foster her until a certain age. So yeah, in the school I had lots of conflicts, but actually, it's not that I was all that innocent. No, I was curious. I was naturally kind, but I was also very resentful. I mean, when there was a disagreement, I was quick to resort to violence myself. So that's what I mean. Now I see that it was somewhat justifiable that I was beaten a lot and mistreated and stuff like that, because I was arrogant and I was violent myself. Yeah. Then, in the high school, I started to take drugs. It was marijuana by the age of about 14 years old. Before that, I experimented with smoking, but didn't quite like it, because I was always getting a headache. Then I experimented with drinking. I drank for about 2 years in high school. I had a friend who was actually Russian. He was drinking like the Russian way, like many bottles of vodka. And I was not so much as a coping mechanics, but to compete with him, I tried to outdrink him. Yeah, and I was actually successful. It didn't make me happy. It just got me an addiction. So I had to smoke more weed in order to get rid of the alcohol addiction. And I got successful, but I ended up smoking lots of weed. That's how. Yeah. Then I switched, despite smoking lots of weed, I switched from the literature-centered education, because I wanted to become a journalist. So I switched to the computer science, because by the time I was good at assembling computers and somewhat good at programming them. and I successfully passed the state exam for computer science and stuff like that. So I was a relatively successful student. In the university, I continued to smoke weed a lot. Yeah, that delayed my graduation for 2 years. And then after I graduated, I was so unbalanced that I didn't go looking for a job, but I started a small business. So basically, it was online games. We were playing online games and selling the stuff, the currency and the characters from the online games. And I spent for about 5 years like that. So then I got tired of that, and the business got ruined. It wasn't very profitable in the first place. Then I got into experimenting with being a vegan, with the dietary experiments, which ruined my health and my teeth to a large degree. Yeah, see, the animal got ruined largely. Yeah, they're okay now, but those dark stains, unfortunately, they're still there, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know a safe method to remove them. Probably I will have to deal with it to the end of my life, but that's okay. I'm trying to make peace with them, let's say. But I now realize that I was looking for the spiritual path, but I didn't know, I couldn't form what exactly I was looking for, basically. Yeah. So I was dieting, I was starving myself like Buddha, starving myself to the point I was like 50 kilos only, with a height 190 centimeters, and people. Wow. So people down the street were stopping and just, hey dude, are you okay? Maybe we should buy you some food, maybe we should bring you to the hospital or something like that. No, I'm okay, I'm feeling good despite all that. Then so I got so sick I couldn't even walk. At some point I couldn't even walk for 5 minutes without taking a break, basically. So I realized that I have to revert that, and I started to include dairy, then meat into my diet. So we started to get back to the normal diet. So I got a part-time job with my friend. Then I started to do drugs again, and we had a certain shortage of weed back then, but we got a synthetic replacement, basically, that is colloquially known as spice. I probably know that. Very devastating drug. Yeah, I was taking it for some months, and it has a devastating effect on my state of mind. Nevertheless, even then, I managed to get over that. And at some point, I was just basically in a depressive state of mind. So I was just doing nothing all day long, just watching some movies and stuff like that. Yeah. Then Mormons knocked on my door, and they offered free English classes, and I got excited about that. So I went to their community, I got baptized with them, not so much for the sake of being a Mormon, but for the sake of improving my English, actually. But I improved my English really good, and I got a job in a corporate environment, so I became a normal man. I started my proper career and proper life, basically. Started lifting, taking supplements, which I also recommend to everyone. Again, to take care of your body, consider taking supplements, especially calcium and magnesium and stuff like that. We are deficient in minerals to a large degree. And so gained some muscle, restored my composure, restored everything, basically. Then at some point, I got depressive again, partly because I had a chronically depressive friend, which was very close to me. And I started to do drugs again. I quit the job, and I got a job in a small company. Actually, it was a good job. It didn't pay well, but it was a small company that served startups. So it was a very interesting job. Although I was taking drugs like hell, we made a lot of interesting projects in there. Then I met a guy who actually initiated me to the Ascended Master teachings, and I got what he did. He basically showed me the Decree to Archangel Michael and said, try reading this 9 times. And I read it 9 times, and I instantly felt good. And I said, hey, dude, thank you for that. If all that takes to be happy is to read some kind of poetry, I'm going to read it to the rest of my life. You laughed and said, well, you will have to do more than that, but for a start, that's a good way to start. Yeah, so keep doing. Yeah, and I kept doing it, but I was so imbalanced. I was actually, by that time, I was considering to commit a suicide because I felt constantly agitated and depressed, and I felt not loved. I felt that something is missing. Yeah, the life is purposeless. I'm not getting love. I'm not getting anywhere and stuff like that. So I continued doing drugs. Again, I do not recommend anyone to do drugs at the same time with the spiritual practices if you can get without it. Why? Because when you do drugs, Kim said that you produce certain effects with your brain, certain hallucinogenic effects with the brain. Actually, what happens from my perspective, you sort of, your body takes some impulses from your emotional body. Your physical body takes something from your emotional body, yeah? Then your mental mind and your identity body also takes some impulses from your emotional body. What you do, you disconnect this part of your being. Basically, you cut your being in half with the drugs, yeah? And you stay with this half. And then using the decrease in invocation, you can accelerate this half very, very, very high to the point that you can even start seeing auras and stuff like that. Yeah, but what happens next? Guess what? The effect of the drug goes away. So you get the hangover and you basically, you dunk in the pit of hell of your own unresolved emotions. You're hanging over physical body. And the contrast is such a big contrast that many people can end up in a mental institution after experimenting like that. Because at some point I found myself, it was taking me days to just recover, to realize what am I, where am I, to get used to again to my normal sense of self, which was quite unbalanced, as I said. And so I do not recommend anyone, not because you cannot get certain effects, but because this is like getting a loan, basically. Yeah, you will have to pay interest, and the interest is this big. And the state, it's not like you take and you improve your state of mind permanently, and you pay your interest from this perfect. No, you're gonna get back. You're gonna fold over than you were before that because of the side effects of the drugs and the contrast. Yeah, so you're gonna pay the interest from the lower state of mind that you began with, basically. Yeah, you have to be ready to that. I mean, if that's what you want, no problem. Yeah, but you better write your will before doing that, because
Yeah.
that guy who initiated me, he said, dude, I mean, you are tough enough to experiment with it. I didn't realize that, but he said, yeah, you are tough enough to experiment like that. But I know personally many people who ended up in a mental institution, or who abandoned spiritual path, or who ended up in a vegetative state because of experiments like that. So I do not recommend it. I mean, if you can get away without that, do not do it. But if you cannot, then still do the spiritual practices, because spiritual practices naturally will sort of blow out the drugs. At some point, I just felt a resistance to do drugs. I just looked I had the drug in front of me and said, like, well, do I really have to do this? I don't feel like doing this, stuff like that. And the tension was increasing and increasing. And at some point, I just did it. I realized that I do not feel good about being high anymore. So I said, oh, okay, I can just let it go naturally. Yeah, just the spiritual practices naturally replaced doing drugs in my life. But at the beginning, I could not approach a decree without doing drugs, because I was so agitated. I was just like, well, I cannot even see it. Yeah, I cannot even read the words. I mean, not aloud, but in my mind. That's how bad it was. So, I mean, for some people, maybe it can be a temporary measure, but again, I know that I'm taking a calculated risk here, but I'm going to say it again. Yeah. So, guys, yes, if you find yourself that deep, yeah, probably for some time, you can get away with that. But if you can do without drugs, please do without drugs, because you're risking of losing your body, and what is more important, to losing your consciousness permanently. Yeah, you can get completely shattered. And actually, the dark forces, they're watching, because I remember, I recall many projections and even attacks from me on other people, even energetic attacks. For instance, I'm going high and there is an attack. I feel it like a bolt, like a thunderbolt in my head, and then it's through my arm, it goes to another girl who walks near me, and she carries a box, and she falls down, and the box falls, and the girl is very scared because she doesn't understand. The pavement was perfectly flat. There was nothing to trip over. Yeah, and she's scared because she doesn't understand what's happened. Yeah, she realized that she just lost control of her physical body, but she did not understand what was happening. But I understood full well what was happening. She was attacked through me, through the hole in my auric field, basically. That's what happened. Yeah. So people who experiment with drugs, they must understand that whenever they experiment with drugs, they are target for the dark forces. But whenever they do spiritual practices, they get high frequency energy. They sort of split their beams. They increase the gap. Yeah. But they still have those gaps, those holes in their auric field, through which they can be attacked, and they will be attacked. They will be attacked with everything the dark forces have. Yeah, so
thank you for just bringing that up, because on the one time that I experimented with drugs during, the 7 years that I've been invoking light, the one time I did it, like instantly, I kid you not, straight afterwards, I had demons in my mind, kill yourself. And it was just the biggest attack I've ever, it was so extreme. I was on the verge of a complete, just psychotic break too. But yeah. So yeah, good point.
Yeah. So after that, well, basically, I managed to get a new job after that, and continued to do drugs to a certain degree. And then, as I said, gradually, I started to do less and less and less until I refused to do any. Then, to reinforce the decision, I quit my job, like one day quit, so that I have no money to do anything. Yeah. And then I started to prepare my journey to Vietnam, because I decided to change something in my life. My father passed away by the time. It was also a hard experience. My mother never recovered from that yet. So it was very hard for me, and I decided to move along, to change that, because actually I didn't feel much about computer science anymore. It turned out that it's quite a boring job, actually. I mean, for me, because when you study it, you have all those fascinating algorithms and stuff like that. But when you deal with the reality is you have simple apps with just lots of complex data, and it's not as mentally challenging as you think it is. It's just topologically challenging. You just have to remember what is where and stuff like that. It wasn't as creative as I thought it's going to be, basically, for me. And I also realized that I have some longing for connecting to other people, basically, which was never satisfied because I was sort of hiding from the other people in front of my computer for the good part of my life. So I improved my English, got certified, and got the paperwork done, and I went to Vietnam. And of course, I quickly found a job, because it's a very easy way. It's a very easy thing to find a job here, and I was relatively good at it. And that's pretty much. So now I managed to establish some kind of a balanced life, and I helped a few dozens of people to find a job too here in Vietnam. I created what I call operating system, how to find a job. That I described it and put it on YouTube and on Telegram and stuff like that, so that other people could use it. Yeah. Also try to drag some people into Ascended Master teachings, but I wasn't very successful. And I realized that even people, what Kim said in one of his latest videos, people can be all that spiritual on the outside. Yeah, they can do spiritual practices, and they can claim they're looking for healing, they're looking for enlightenment, stuff like that. But in reality, they're still in the immersion phase. Yeah, they're still playing it as just another ego game, basically. Yeah, that's how it is. When you tell them that, I'm gonna have a meditation course, or I'm gonna visit a monastery, I'm gonna do this and that, and they said, dude, how about looking at your psychology? That look, my psychology. What's wrong with my psychology? Nothing. You just don't wash your head on regular basis. You're 20 minutes late for work on systematic basis. Apart from that, probably nothing bad with your psychology. Except that you're gonna get fired because of that. Yeah, so that's how it is.
Okay. So Igor, also when we were talking beforehand, you talked a bit about sex addiction and pornography, transcending that. So could you share a bit about that part of?
Yes. Well, I got into sex addiction at a very early age. Actually, in a very interesting way. I tried to climb a column in the primary school, and I felt some kind of sensation in my pubic area, basically, and I got hooked by the sensation. Yeah, so after, in a short while, I learned how to masturbate by myself, yeah, and since then I got hooked. severely. Yeah. Then, of course, with the emergence of the internet, I got hooked on pornography. First of porn stories, basically, because the internet was not good enough to transfer videos, yeah, and even pictures. Yeah. Then, of course, the pictures and videos and stuff like that, and it was for more than 20 years addiction. Yeah, and it was severe. Yeah, and I was condemning myself, and at some point I even got sick because of that. And then with the Ascended Master teachings, I was asking to resolve it, and I quickly realized that I have, to some degree, I had basically hatred towards women, towards my own mother, and towards women in general, because of some events, I was mistreated as a child by certain girls, yeah, and generally I was seen as a loser, basically, and stuff. So I never received any mutuality, yeah. Well, not never, but almost never, let's say, received any mutuality. So I developed certain hatred against women. Yeah, and then I realized I had to transcend it. I quickly transcended it, and I felt an improvement both in my addiction and my physical health. Basically, after that, when I came to Vietnam, I realized that I can satisfy my addiction to sex naturally, in a somewhat natural way, by resorting to prostitutes and massage girls and stuff like that. Well, actually, massage girls are better than prostitutes because they do not, first of all, they do not serve like that every stranger. Yeah, they look at you, they do some kind of a face control. They have to like you, basically. You have to serve you this way, to serve you in a sexual way. Otherwise, they just massage you and tell you to get away, basically. Yeah, and you cannot do anything about that because this is illegal. So if you insist, they just call the police. You get deported, or you get in for 2 years in jail or something like that. So that's how it is. Yeah, and I was using it actually to a certain degree, like once or twice in the month or some of that. I am still using the service because I tried to get a girlfriend here, but because of my unresolved psychology towards relationship, I got into savior complex, and I got a girlfriend who was a complete mess up, to be honest. Yeah, I tried to offer her the spiritual tools and the conventional psychological tools, but she never used any of them, and she systematically disrespected me. So I just dumped her at some point, basically. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, I cannot say I have fully transcended it yet, but I have certainly transcended the urge to pornography and how it was the switch in the mind, because I analyzed that I recognize that I have a natural longing for, a healthy relationship and a healthy sexual relationship. Yeah, but I was trying to suppress it, and at some point it was such a big tension in my base chakra that I couldn't resist it anymore. Then I had to do something right now, and that's where pornography kicks in, basically. Yeah, because when you have to do something right now, and the pornography is the easiest way to relieve that tension, basically. Yeah. That's how we do. So the proper way is just acknowledge, oh, I have this need. Yeah, I didn't have enough of the experience. Yeah, okay. What can I do about that? I can get a girlfriend. Okay, I'm not like getting a girlfriend. I can go to a massage salon. Yeah, okay. But I don't have to suppress it. I have to acknowledge it. I don't have to suppress it. But also I can control it with the decrease to the fourth wave, 407. First of all, yeah, the thread cut me free. And then the decrease to the therapist base for, I don't remember the number, 409, I believe, or something like that. Yeah, the new one, the 9 versus 1. No, or 403, actually, 403, I believe. It was replaced to the therapist base because masters, they teach you as Elohim and Archangel, they give and transform light, but masters actually teach you how to use the light so you can use the light more efficiently. So it's easier for you to just separate yourself from this urge, basically, this unnatural, perverted desire.
Yeah, and there's a energetic visualization they give, that one when you do the figure of 8 with your base chakra up with a master, and yeah, that one's good. That helped me for a while when I needed it.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm gonna try that too. Yeah, so and the biggest relief with the invocation, it's liberating women from sexual exploitation book. There are 3 invocations that reveal how we are basically hooked on sex as an addiction. Yeah, and it says about women, but it's actually equally useful for men and women. Actually, maybe for men even more useful than for women, because we as men, we are seen as, those, we must have this unnatural sexual drive. Like the more women you you have sex with the better of a man you are. Basically, that's in pure vision. Yeah. So that's, and I was, yeah, for a long time I was into that mindset. And then I realized that no, I don't have to be that way. I don't have to conform to that, and that was a big leap. So again, invoking the light, so to cut myself free from that energy, but then acknowledging that I don't have to suppress a healthy sexual drive. Yeah, I have to find a balanced way to relate, at least relatively balanced way to express it. Yeah, and then I do not have to resort to pornography, because I don't have these affections when I cannot resist the urge to do. I have to do something right now. That's the way to transcend it. Yeah, and again, naturally, it's gradually, as you invoke more and more light, you see that some sexual practices, they are just not natural. For instance, oral sex, you realize that you just start to sense that, hey, mouth is not the energy of mouth is not intended for this usage. You just don't feel good about it. Like with drugs, you don't feel good about this anymore. You don't feel hooked on this anymore. Well, this is not me. I don't want this anymore. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so you've given a whole bunch of, really, really practical, just things to ponder here and everything. And we're pretty much at the end, but I just want to give you the opportunity, if there is, one more thing you'd like to close with, over to you.
Yeah. Let me say, I collected some tips for the spiritual students that I consider important. Yeah. First of all, many people want to gain that spectral vision, as they call it, to see the astral plane. Ladies and gentlemen, if you dream of having that spectral vision, you better be praying for not getting it. Because at my first initiation, I got such a powerful insurge of light that I actually started to see the astral plane. No one can be ever prepared to what you're going to see there, because nothing at the physical plane resembles what those creatures look like. They're absolutely terrifying. It's a very intense experience, because you see them as parasites over people's heads. They're like black clouds, very black clouds, very terrifying and very ugly. And you see them taking over people, you see them controlling people, you see them attacking you through other people. And it's a very intensive experience. And the most intense part of it, when you recognize them on your own head, on yourself. So no one was, I had to drop that ability. I had to tune out, because I couldn't live my normal life with that vision. No one wants that. Maybe someone has in their divine plan, maybe someone is like Padmasambhava, they have a mission to clear up some territory, or do some exorcism or something like that. But an average person who is dreaming of seeing an astral plane might again end up in a mental institution when they see it, what is actually happening there. No, guys, please don't get it.
Do not enter.
Yeah. Pray for not getting that vision, because you're gonna get shocked, really. Then the second tip, the real spiritual path starts not with improving yourself, but with accepting, basically making peace with what you are actually at the moment. Yeah. So you stop the suppression and compartmentalizing, as I did, because for several years I was suppressing and compartmentalizing myself, and I only did more harm than good, actually. Yeah. So make peace with yourself. If you cannot make peace with yourself, the greatest help is do some third ray decrease in invocation. Yeah, clear your heart chakra, your secret heart chakra, decrease to the third ray masters, invoking the freedom of anti-love by Mother Mary. These kind of books, yeah. Invoking the acceptance of Christ, invocation for loving yourself, invocation for acceptance, and stuff like that. Then number 3 tip, conceptual mind. There is a story in Buddhism that is called the moon behind the clouds, so how it is. There is a spiritual master, and an apprentice approaches him and says, hello, master, I think I understood something of your spiritual teaching. The master points at the sky and says, see, the moon is behind the clouds. Do you understand that? He said, no. Okay, go to your retreat and practice for 7 years. And 7 years pass. The student gets back to the master and he says, hello, master, I think I understood everything. The master points at the sky. See, the moon is behind the clouds. Do you understand? Yes, master, I understand. The moon is a symbol for our higher self, which is a reflection of our God self, which reflects the light. Numbers, you didn't understand anything. Go practice for another 7 years. And the student gets back to the retreat, practices for another 7 years, then it comes back to the master. The master points at the sky, says, see, the moon is behind the clouds. Do you understand? Yes, master, I do understand. What do you understand? The moon is behind the clouds. So yeah. So what I mean to say here is that not necessarily there is no deeper meaning to something in your life, yeah, but do not let your conceptual mind drag you into looking for it in everything, basically, because also a very big part of my attention and energy I spent into looking for some kind of a spiritual meaning in literally everything around. Yeah. So, random numbers, there must be some magical numbers and stuff like that. Yeah. So do not do that. Yeah. And so I believe that this is one of the hardest traps to get out of. Yeah. Number 4, the accuser of the brethren. Yeah. Do that invocation. It's world invocation number 33, but do it with a personal purpose. Yeah. Ask masters to specifically show you all the patterns of the accuser of the brethren in your own being, because this is a very complex phenomenon, and there are roughly 56 facets, as I counted in that invocation, of this pattern. And there are very, very, very subtle patterns. When you try to defend yourself or make up for something or compensate for something, you are so used to it, you don't even recognize that there is something to question about it. Yeah. So this invocation is a great thing to deal with, but also prepare for a very harsh energy release, because you will have a lot of energies stirred up in your being. So you have to prepare to do lots of violet flame, invoke the decree to invoke the light from Elohim Actrus, as it said in the invocation itself, and to Saint Germain and stuff, and to Elohim Astrea, actually. Yeah. So prepare to separate yourself and requalify lots of energies, lots and lots of energies. Yeah. Also, one of the subtlest facets of this pattern is projecting all good image onto people. For instance, you see a person and you want to believe they're a good person, yeah, and you start projecting onto them, oh, they're so good, but they have some deficient, but that's not a big deal and stuff like that. You got into this game, but then what they do, they actually upset you a lot, yeah, and you got resented in them or something. At least this is my pattern. That's how I broke up with my last girlfriend. Number 5, a self might project a certain problem at you, and the fact that this problem is projected by a self doesn't mean that the problem doesn't exist, that it should not be addressed. It's just that the self projects it in an inflated or an unbalanced way. It projects it in that it's such a big problem, or it offers an imbalanced solution, basically. But or more often than not, at some point of the path, you have to look into those problems. Yeah. For instance, I'm mistreated at work, yeah, and I had to look into it, but I say, oh no, this is an angry self projecting it onto me, so I'm not going to do anything about that. But actually, I had to do something about that, and at some point I did something about that, just in a balanced way. But what I did, I gathered the evidence, I created a formal report, I had to talk with my director, and we resolved everything in a very well way. Yeah. Just I didn't have to express anger, nor did I have to suppress it completely. Yeah. So take a good look. I mean, if there is a problem, yeah, consider it, but try to consider it in a neutral state of mind, because the problem might be real. It's just that the self said, oh, this is an epic problem, or here is the easy decision, but the decision is easy, but an imbalance. That's how it comes. Number 6, we as avatars, I believe many avatars have that tendency to fall in love with unlucky people, basically sacrificing ourselves. Oh, this is an unlucky person, I'm going to help them. I'm going to express my love, and that will fix them. No, I mean, sometimes it's not going to fix them, unfortunately, because they will treat your love as a justification for their present state of consciousness, for their present lifestyle, basically. That's what they do. If this person can love me, then I'm doing everything right. I'm all good. That's what they think. So you have to be aware of that. And number 7, well, actually, that's what it did. Yeah, it is necessary to speak openly about our not so spiritual habits. Yeah, because again, you find yourself at a certain point, your ego morphs into a spiritual ego, and you feel bad about yourself, and you try to hide it. So at a public, you also, this very spiritual image. Yeah, you feel very spiritual for everyone else. Yeah, but recently I realized that no, it's not. No, it doesn't work like that. I better speak out because at this point of my path, the most valuable gift I can give to other people is just to share my story, to tell like, hey guys, I found myself full of crap, and I took over it. Yeah, to a large degree, I took over it. I'm living a very balanced lifestyle. Even compared to an average person, I don't take any, not even any drugs, but any fast food. Any, I exercise daily. I sleep well and stuff like that. I do very good at my work, and everyone praises me at work for that matter and stuff like that. There is even certainly idolatry, which I try to counteract at work. But well, that's out of the conversation. Yeah, but my message here is that. Here is my story, yeah, how I was down to the bowel of hell and back out. Yeah. And my life, my previous life, I was a warrior, I was a black magician, I was a horror lover of a black magician. I had fun, but in a very imbalanced way. And guys, if I manage to deal with all that and resolve all that and let go of all that, you have a chance, and a thumping good one. That's my message here.
Yeah.
Well, the last one, probably forgiveness. Yeah, practice forgiveness as much as you can, because it's not only it helps you to let go of the past, but it increases your performance in the now, because the more you forgive, the less you analyze everything, because there is a self that always analyzes everything like, oh, is it appropriate towards me, towards my persona or not? Yeah, is it good or not? Should I allow it or not? But yeah, but the more you forgive, the less you are concerned with all this stuff. Basically, and the more performant, the more creative you get, and this is it just feels good when you're creative, when you're free to do something, it just feels good. So that's my message for today. That's me, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. That's been a really entertaining journey of you and spirituality, and a lot of really good tips. And yeah, I like how you presented all of that. So thank you so much, Igor. Really, I've enjoyed today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you soon too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll sign off. So see you later, viewers.
Yeah. See you. Bye-bye. Thank you.